Okay. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having us, GeoComply, here today. Maybe before we go into the data part, I think it will make a little bit more sense to introduce what we are doing and how it's related to our data privacy issue that we're talking about today. Hopefully, I won't take too much time about this, but just the basic plans is GeoComply is a global market leader in advanced geolocation security and cyber security. We provide solutions to our customer who have the need to verify transaction that they are working with or working on. Currently, we have about 400 million devices installed worldwide. They install our software, and our software will help them verify the transactions. About 10 billion transactions per year, focusing on a variety of industry, mainly gaming, media, and financial tech, fintech. We have about 500 employees globally. We have offices in Canada, US, Ukraine, Poland, Vietnam, and UK. Did I miss anyone? Yeah, that should be it. Yeah, and we are also being very strongly supported by some of the very strong institutional investment firm, Blackstone, West, Atos, and Atherosta. So what exactly does GeoComply do? Our motive is to eliminate fraud with a pinpoint precision in all the transactions. So basically, wherever you are around the world, when you make a transaction, if there's a need to identify where you actually are, GeoComply have a solution for that, as well as other preventions where geolocation is absolutely necessary. To identify some of the scenario here that we can help with is to detect ATO. ATO stands for account takeover, meaning that your bank account, your any transaction account that you have, and someone for some reason have access to it, take over it, and make transaction on your behalf without you knowing it. Stolen identity, for example, if your tax identification number for the US case. Fraud rings, there's a lot of syndicate around the world where they can actually collaborate, coordinate the transaction to make a whole fraud rings and fraud the customer, our customer. Money moves, chargeback, and bot farms. These are the kind of trickeries that a lot of technically advanced groups that can they leverage to fraud or cheat money from our customer. So those are the target, those are our functionality, and these are some of the product feature, the main product features that we are providing. We detect locations, we have robust device fingerprinting, advanced broad capability, pinpoint accuracy geofencing. When we say pinpoint, we really mean pinpoint to the accuracy, the precision about several meters around the world. Our technology is currently can both work on a regional scale as well as locality scale. And we can also provide location behavior analysis. If there's certain individual or certain transaction that occur over a period of time where the behavior or the pattern is peculiar, raising concern from our customer, we can provide that kind of analysis as well. And we have a customized report and fraud rules depending on the needs of our customer. So just an example, what those products are. Here's a case study that we can introduce. So for example, if you have a building or a house where the authorities say no transaction of particular kind should happen inside this building, we can draw a fence around it, a digital fence, and you won't be able to make any transaction if you're inside there with your phone or laptop or any other mobile devices. But once you're outside of the building by a couple of meters, then you are able to do it. So this is our capability. Another case study is we are able to detect transactions that occur where they should not occur. So this is one real example where one of our customers, one of our clients, receive a whole bunch of transactions that appear to be appearing from within the United States. But upon our closer investigation, they are actually generated from Africa, a bunch of countries in Africa. And those transactions should not occur from outside the United States. That's because of certain law that prevent that to happen. And then this is another case study. there's a lot of transactions that use IP address to identify your locations, and these transactions appear to occur here, but with our product, we actually pinpoint them to be occurring from inside Russia and part of Ukraine, and these are where some of the very famous, very highly advanced groups are located. And they cause a lot of concern for a lot of customers in our business. And so how do we do it? So these are some of the typical signals that we use to work with and pinpoint the location. Some of these you might be familiar with: GPS, Wi-Fi, cellular, IP geolocations. We have a few more products in the line using other kind of signal, other kind of database that we have access to, or we produce the database ourselves. So let's talk about data, right? So it's quite obvious to everybody that in order to conduct our business, we have the need to access to a lot of users' data. When you make a phone call, you make a transaction from your computer, we require to access that in order to verify your veracity, your locations, right? So the question of data privacy and what are the risks, obviously, pop up. Moreover, we are working with the United States and Canada. These are the two countries that have a very complicated privacy law. If you look at, we have data processing agreement. Before we roll out our product in certain states in the United States, we are obligated to make sure that we pass on this relevant law for that state. Because in the United States, as you are aware, beside the federal laws, there are different states, they also have a different laws regarding data privacy. The same thing for Canada, it's province specific. Canada is actually our headquarters there. Same thing, we rolled out state by state, province by province, and we are required to pass all the law before we can run the business in that particular state or province. And of course, in the EU, right now, we don't have a lot of businesses in the EU, but our legal department is also preparing us for dealing with the GDPR. And again, these are the main compliance that our company, our businesses have to be prepared for before we roll out into those markets. And then there's another need that everybody is quite familiar with, particularly in the United States and Canada. There's a law that requires all the data accessor or controller or collector, as I might just say, they are required to retain the data for the purpose of law enforcement, right? All the data are supposed to be secret, private, but if there's a need from the law enforcement, there's a subpoena or there's a warrant from the law enforcement, we are obligated to provide to them in a timely and accurately as needed, as well as emergency requests. So these are the things that we are all comply with as per international law and country national law. So in analytics, in our own analytics aspect, we also take a lot of care dealing with data. We always ask ourselves when we present our analysis, we want to know who our audience is. We selectively select the data appropriate for certain group of audience. We don't show more than what they need to know. And similarly, we conduct a lot of investigation on our audience before we actually introduce the data to them. And we follow our own internal data sharing policy as guidance. We have a legal department for that, and they have a very comprehensive guidance for the rest of the company. We follow that. And on the technology side, our software, our product have a capability to depersonalize the data. So before we collect the data, instead of collecting, say, your name, your tax identification number, we have an algorithm to mix them up, hash them, so that by the time it reaches our database, it's impossible to identify that person. The data, as you know, in the US, we have two types of data, like PI, personal information, and PII, which is personally identified information. The depersonalization here and anonymization here, the purpose is to clear the PII aspect of it, meaning that if you look at the data, yes, it's unique, but it's impossible to trace that data to any particular person at all. And at that point, we are free to use the data for any analysis in our business. And we also have, we follow the NIST privacy framework. This is an organization in the US, which is like sort of set the standard for a lot of technology implementation regarding risk, regarding privacy, and so on. So our legal department is consistently following their guidance, their framework. And then I just want to touch a little bit on the other side, which right now maybe might not be relevant to Vietnam yet, but it's something that is a hot topic in the Western world regarding AI, machine learning, and ADM. ADM stands for auto decision making. When you apply machine learning, you cannot avoid the situation where either a computer or machine will make decision for you, and there's no human involved, right? So there's nobody to sue, right? You can't sue anybody. It's just an algorithm. But we need to be aware, and if the algorithm is in any way is doing something unethical, or for example, I just give one example. There are algorithms out there that consistently produce biased decisions based on certain group or certain particular population, just because the data is showing like that. So these are the kind of thing that is very ambiguous in terms of legal obligations, but it's an ethical issue, and it's a hotly debated in the AI world. The question is always asked, do we trust AI? What happens if there's a dilemma happen and there's no law, there's no clear law, and there's no person to involve in a litigation, for example. So what do we do with that? So all of these are in our horizon to be aware of whenever we produce a new product or roll out into a new market. So these are the things that we are fully aware in our company in terms of data privacy and the risk that we are dealing with so much data, so much information of individual around the world. So right now we're not operating in the Vietnam market just yet, but we are fully aware of where we are going, and whenever we go there, we are prepared to comply with the local law as well as international best practice. So that's a little bit on GeoComply, and thank you very much for listening.